Hey there. This is Lisane Basquiat, the host of the Shaping Freedom podcast. And I'm really thrilled and profoundly touched to be able to share a delightful conversation that I had recently with Erika Gabriel. Erika is a spiritual medium, and she actually invited me onto her podcast, the You Are Not Alone podcast, to have a conversation with her about spirituality and about showing up and about what shaping your freedom actually means. We had a wonderful conversation, y'all. We talked about everything. My Jean Michel's estate, the exhibition that's coming up next year. We talked about what it means to be connected within. And what I really enjoyed most about this conversation is the fact that Eric and I had never met before. We'd never had a conversation prior to this one. The producers, our mutual podcast producers, Straw Hut Media, actually connected us because they felt that we were two people that should connect and have a conversation. And I have to tell you, I met this woman and instantly felt like we had known each other forever. And I think I can say fairly that she felt the same way. It was just a great energy, great conversation. We went really deep and enjoyed just playing in that spiritual bubble of connection and sharing so much. So, what we've decided to do is to this week have the episode of my Shaping Freedom podcast be the sharing of that interview, because the information that we talked about is so relevant and I really wanted you all to hear it. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Erika Gabriel, spiritual medium, incredibly beautiful soul.
Hello, friends. Welcome to You Are Not Alone. I am your hostess. Is it host or hostess? I don't know. I feel like hostess sounds like I'm throwing a party. This kind of is a spiritual party, really. This kind of is a party for spirit. I don't know. But I'm going to go with host because that resonates with me a little more. But when I said that, I was like, wait, is there like a female form of that? But so let's call this a party. Maybe I'm your hostess for this kind of spiritual party, but I'm going with host. I'm your host, spiritual medium, Erika Gabriel. If you are just joining me, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. It's so nice for you to join us and be here, and welcome to my podcast. So this podcast is all about you, really, and all about connecting you with incredible people that are elevating the consciousness on the planet. And also, I think sometimes as you hear people explore their own spirituality and their own journeys, it's such an incredible opportunity for reflection. And this next guest and this absolutely incredible guest that I'm going to introduce to you, within this conversation that we had, which I'm going to play for you guys in a moment, like, we were just vibing and vibrating so high, right? Our energy was so high. We understood each other. I was learning so much from the conversation. It was just such an incredible flow, an incredible conversation. And it was weird too, because I was learning a lot about her before we even connected, and just about all the amazing things she's doing. And she was about to come on the screen, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm super nervous. I was feeling nervous. And then I realized it wasn't nervousness. It was just true excitement. I was excited. I was excited to meet her. I was excited to connect with her because I already felt a deep connection with her and what she's doing and the incredible things she's putting out in the world. So it was just amazing to be with her. So, on top of everything, and on top of that, for the conversation to just go in the way that it went with this beautiful flow, and it was just a blessing. She's a blessing. Her coming on my show was a blessing, and I just loved being with her. So, let me introduce her. Her name is Lisane Basquiat. She is the host of her podcast called Shaping Freedom. She also does an incredible 5-week program called Shape Your Foundation. She is the owner of one branch of Hera Hub, which is in Carlsbad. It's a female focused co working space. It also is a space for business acceleration and really a connected community of successful entrepreneurs. She has incredible stories on how she came to be there, and she also is working on a new exhibition of her brother's work, who is Jean-Michel Basquiat, who I'm sure you know. And this incredible exhibition is going to be in New York City landmark Starrett Lehigh Building in Chelsea, and it's coming out in 2022. So we also talk about that and her incredible role to bring this truly gift to the world. So I can't wait for you guys to connect and hear our conversation. Also, just a heads up, my mic and my computer and just a whole bunch of technical things weren't really talking to each other too well during our conversation. So if my sound is not as clear as you're normally used to hearing me, I am so sorry about that. Excuse that, and hopefully the conversation, you can kind of move past any fuzziness that's coming through on the sound, so you can connect with the incredible messages that truly came through in this beautiful conversation with Lisane.
I just wanted to ask you first what you wanted to focus on, because I want to bring forward what you're feeling in your heart.
I don't have any. I came with nothing, with no specific intention other than for you and I to connect, and for all these different elements of my life, whichever of those are, come up for us or feel good for us, we can just go ahead and talk about. What I will say, the one thing that popped for me is that, I'm up to a lot of things, and spirituality is first and foremost in everything that I do. And that has probably been, Erika, the biggest transformation for me, from a person many years ago who was in corporate and who always had spirituality at the core of my being. And I, at the time, I wasn't sure how to express that, how to have my life be an expression of the relationship that I have with God and my quest to dig deeper and to know more about myself and this thing called life and all the different elements that go into that. And I'm really happy that today, I'm doing a lot of different things. Hera Hub Carlsbad is a female focused and gender inclusive and welcoming co-working space and business accelerator. Shaping Freedom is all about improving the relationship or nurturing the relationship that a person is in with themselves. The work that my sister and I are doing on our brother's estate is all about family and having our brothers back and continuing to both feed and be nurtured by our legacy. This exhibition is a way for me, my sister and our brother to party together and celebrate his life and what he's done. And all of that is about my role on this planet and what I know I'm supposed to be up to while I'm here, all of it. Comes from my spirituality, and spirituality actually happens to be my number one life value. So I'm really happy that you said that. That was a long-winded answer and response.
It wasn't at all. It was perfect. And when you were explaining everything you're doing, and it's like, I saw this beautiful tree, and its foundation was in here on this earth, but also this divine connection to earth and to God. And then like the branches, it kind of gives me chills. Like the branches are all the incredible expressions of you that you are putting out into the world. And it's all coming and stemming from the very truth of who you are. And there's this song that I love. And in the song, it says, "'Cause I'm only here for God." It's an agape song. And it's a beautiful song. I should play it on this show one time, but it's like, it says, "Yes, I'm only here for God." And it's like, it's this beautiful song. And it's
Yeah,
like, that's what I hear you saying is like, you're here for God. And these are all ways that you're expressed, that God is kind of like making its way in your life. It's really beautiful.
absolutely. And I think also it's, I have a willingness today to embrace that part of me. And for a while, the work that I'm doing is really about helping people to come to a place of full integration with themselves, and for a while I lived, where I was a corporate executive and
Wow.
my spirituality was over here and my family was over there and my real opinions about things were over here. And I believe that we are so much happier and so much fuller and can contribute so much more when we are doing the work of coming to wholeness, coming back to ourselves, paying attention to what's happening in here, so that when we're showing up, as you are, we're showing up face to face, fully present with each other, you know?
That's amazing. And I just feel like with you saying that, like just knowing so much, the people that are tuned into this podcast also is like, I have, there's many people that are, very far along on their spiritual path. And there's so many people that write me that are like, I'm just kind of moving some cobwebs and some ivy
Mhm.
off this, what I think is a door. You know what I mean? They're like just noticing the door. And maybe they're in a super constricted or religious family. I have a lot of people that tell me about that, and they're kind of breaking out of that, or all kinds of ways that people are looking to express their truth and express their true spirituality. And like to hear you say that, just about bringing all the parts of yourself together and expressing that and in a real way, and that you found that way to do that. And what's so cool about Hera Hub, and again, you guys listening, this is a female focused co-working space, which is also a business accelerator, and it's a connected community of successful entrepreneurs. And it's beautiful. Like your pictures are beautiful. It's a beautiful space. And like that, you think, okay, this is a place for entrepreneurs, business, but it's a place for God too, because people that are believing in themselves are able to fully embrace themselves in their business, especially as women, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's also about, living your dreams and stepping fully into whatever it is that you envision for your life and for yourself. And there aren't a lot of places in our lives, especially for entrepreneurial women. There aren't a lot of places, unless you've grown up with that, where you can get together with other people who are doing similar things and have them understand your journey and have them understand the feast or famine that can sometimes happen within an entrepreneurial journey, or to understand what it feels like when you are trying to step out of a corporate role, for example, or trying to outpace your alimony as you're stepping out of a relationship, or stepping into fully taking care of yourself and your children and your life, or just deciding that you want to do something, you want to bring something to the world. And so I feel very honored and blessed to be able to participate in that in some small way, while I myself am working out and working through the very same things. And before I go further, I just want to say my very good friend, Felina Hansen, is actually the woman who founded Hera Hub.
Okay.
And so Hera Hub is there are several Hera hubs. There's one in Washington, D.C., in Irvine, in Temecula. There are 3 here in San Diego. I just own the one in Carlsbad. Not I own the one in
Yeah.
Carlsbad. And she, I purchased that location back in 2017.
It's so
But I've
great.
been part of the Hera Hub community since moving here to San Diego almost 10 years ago.
Wow. What was
Yeah.
that like for you when you made that transition from, like you said, corporate? Like, would you call that your spiritual awakening in that moment? Or was that kind of like slow kind of roll? Or how did that work for you? Like when you left that,
It
world?
was part of it. I mean, it was certainly part of it. When you go through a spiritual awakening, it's rarely just the one thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
all heck starts
Right.
to break loose. And
Yeah.
for
Oh,
me,
yeah.
yeah, right?
When everything falls apart, you're waking up,
It's a good thing, right? And it doesn't feel that way when you're in it because it's icky and uncomfortable and tight. Well, I I'd lived a life of following God, following the cloud, right? And it's like I would always know where to go next. I always felt guided to where to go next. And in 2007, right around 2007, I felt as though I had walked through a door, like a door had opened. I walked through that door,
Yeah.
and that door and all the doors around me were closed. And I could not figure out the right one to go through. And what that looked like in my real life at the time was the marriage that I was in had ended. My mother had passed away. Another family member had passed away. An aunt who was like a mother to me passed away, and I wound up losing my corporate role. And so before then, it was just like everything changed for me during that year, everything.
Mm.
And before then, I was kind of on the seesaw of my personal and professional life, where if my personal life was falling apart, it was okay because I had my professional life to support me and vice versa. And
Yes.
this was the first time where it was like, shoot, I can't, what? And
Like this is everything.
like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then um, and then over the course of the year following, my mom passed away. And then my dad was ill for the first time in my life, and my stepmom was, I mean, everything. I started, and so suddenly I was an entrepreneur. I was sitting in a life that felt like it was falling apart, everywhere I looked. And I did not feel at the time like I felt like I was distant from God. Like I could not find anything solid to hold on to at the time. Yeah. And so that was part of the transformation. That was part of the journey. It was truly that dark night of the soul for
Yeah.
me, where I was just like,
God was
I
like,
don't.
God was like, I'm trying to have my way in your life. So all
And
these
I was
things are
resistant.
falling apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, I was like, no, you're not far from me. I'm right here. I'm trying to have my way in your life.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
hear that at all at the time. And so a few years later, I started to, not long after, actually, a couple of years, I somehow or another found myself here in San Diego. And the timing was weird. And what I did know is that me being, a woman from Brooklyn, I'm the daughter of a Haitian father and a Puerto Rican mother. I'm pretty sassy and spicy. Definitely have the Brooklyn funk up in me. And, but I also
My dad
knew.
is from Brooklyn. So
Really?
yeah.
What part of
Yeah.
Brooklyn? Do you know?
You know what? I don't remember what it's called. I know we've gone back and visited the brownstone that he grew up in, but it's mostly now I think it's in a purely Hasidic Jewish community at this time. It's 100% Hasidic Jewish, but at the time it was all Jewish, like communities, and then Italian communities in that area. I have to ask.
Williamsburg?
I don't remember. I'm
Williamsburg
gonna
or either Williamsburg or Sunset Park. And
I'm gonna
since you
I'm
mentioned
texting him.
brownstones, it could be Sunset Park or maybe Bay Ridge.
I'm
I
gonna
don't know.
text him because I just want to know. So is
Okay,
that where I get my sassiness from, the Brooklyn? Is that like
could be. Could be. It's good to know where it comes from.
well, my mom is Swedish, so they're more reserved in Sweden, but they have the sass going too. No,
Nice.
I'm
Yeah,
texting my dad right now, by the
yeah, I'd love to know. I grew up in Borum Hill,
way.
which
Okay.
is and I grew up in Stone as well. And in Brooklyn. And so I love New York, and I am an absolute New Yorker. And I also felt in my spirit that, I need something stir. I need nature. I need to be around, you know, away from buildings and around the ocean and mountains and that kind of thing. And so that's what brought me here to San Diego. And that was really the start of me looking at my life and looking at me and realizing over time, because I fought it, realizing that everything that I was looking to outside of myself, either for validation or for acceptance or to blame for what I was feeling or what I was experiencing, that all of that was an illusion. And that all of that was everything that was happening in my life was really happening to help me and support me in gently guiding myself back to me and to gently guide myself back to my relationship with God and to understanding that it's all here, like it's all in here, right? And other people, whatever's happening, it doesn't mean that those things aren't happening, that boss isn't tough or that those people aren't whatever they are or that people haven't done whatever they've done. But that is the secondary story. That's the secondary thing. The primary thing is what's happening within me that is creating or supporting and condoning these things that are happening in my life that I don't want, and also turning me back to and asking myself the question of, what do I want? Lisane, what do you want? What do you want in this moment? Because if I can answer that question, then that starts the process of resolving whatever it is that's around me or bringing forth whatever it is that I want to have.
That question, what do you want?
Mm.
Amazing, because I've been working, intimately. I've been working intimately with people for 14 years, going on 14 years. And so many times the guides will ask people, what do you want? And they're just like, I don't know. And you're steering your ship of life, basically. So if you don't know where you're, what course you're charting, it's really challenging. That's a huge question. What do you want? And it was also interesting you're talking about moving to San Diego, because I do feel that and see that so much when people are trying to quiet the chaos so that they can hear within themselves. It's difficult in busy places. And that's not to say you can't, but I've seen that a lot where people are like, I just need to find a park. I need to be outside. I need to just be with a tree and listen to the birds for a minute,
Absolutely.
And it helps. That's so amazing. And I love that you're talking also about going within, because I always tell people, like, the greatest, most amazing, most life-changing, revolutionary journey you're ever going to take is the journey within. No matter what book you read, no matter what podcast you listen to, no matter what amazing meditation retreat in India you do, it's still you at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
It's you, it's you, it's you. No, the guru is in you. God is in you. Your connection to the divine is in you. Going in to find that, and that's it. That's the secret to life.
Absolutely, it really is.
I mean, it really is. Like, it's very difficult. It can be difficult, but it's very simple. That's the whole thing to life. God is in you. There you go. Boom. War's over. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Share this podcast. We're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That's amazing. So the other thing, I love your podcast, and I love you have a solo podcast about enlightenment as well. And I was listening to it, and I just going off what we're talking about, I love how much you say in there, like, it seems like this far off distant thing, but like you can achieve that and obtain that. And I love that you said that, you
Thank
make
you.
it so accessible for people.
Thank you. And I think that those are the things that we move toward, are the things that are more accessible, the things that resonate with us. It's the simple things, that can sometimes feel a little tough.
Yeah.
Like the question that you mentioned of, what do you want? That is such a simple question.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times in my life I've asked myself that question. And everything starts flooding in, like all the confusing stuff, right? And it's like, no. Forget the buts, forget the hows, forget all of that. Like, what do you want, Lisane? And sometimes, most of the time, it requires giving myself the time and attention and focus on me that I'm asking for other people to have on me.
Wow.
It's just like, in our prayer life, and I've done this where I have, where I have said, God, I'm using this as an example because I don't remember right now, but like, God, I just want to be happy. Right. And so how do we want this complex response, this gift, when we are unwilling to take the time to actually think about what it is that we're asking for? Like, we want the universe and God and our guides to come together and pull all this together and move the people into place and move us into place and, stir our spirit. That is an amazing thing. And if we were to be willing to just meet the universe, God, our guides, where we are also equally invested in our own success, imagine what could happen for us. Like, take the time to think through what you really want beyond, I just want to be happy. No. I want to live in flow. I want to show up in my relationships as the most authentic version of myself that I can. I want to have the courage to blank. I want to step out and blank. There's something to that. There's something to investing enough in ourselves toward what we want as a way of starting to take the steps so that so the path can truly be built with beneath our feet. There's just something to it.
I agree. Have you ever had that question, like maybe in the past, where you're like, what do you want? And you say something and then you hear, no. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you really want? Like that has happened to me recently, because I feel like my what do you wants keep changing. So I'm consistently asking myself that. And I also get into that place where I'm like, I am balancing remaining in gratitude as well for where I'm at, and giving myself permission to also elevate my vision without saying where I am right now is shitty, make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that acknowledgement of like, wow, this is what I have right now is what I was praying on 2 years ago.
Exactly.
And just living in the attitude of gratitude instead of them being like, what do I want now? What do I want now? And so
Yes.
I've had to work that out with myself, because sometimes like that little asshole voice, excuse my French, is just like, what makes you think that you should have that? Why you? And then I turn around and I go, why not me? I'm the very person.
Exactly.
Right? But yes, it's like that balance where like you want to go into your gratitude and also know that it's okay to have a vision and an elevated vision for yourself as well.
Absolutely, because gratitude isn't about penance. It's not about, groveling. Gratitude is about, yes,
Yeah.
thank you, more, please.
Yes.
I want more. Thank you. Show me what I need to do, or how I can have more, increase my capacity to take in more of this, please. Because we humans are hilarious. And when the funky stuff happens, and I've said this a lot of times, but when the funky stuff happens, we embrace that like our best favorite pillow.
I knew it. I knew
Yeah.
that bad stuff was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't feel good, or this is going on, or, I'm miserable. And, we just embrace it. My aggravation, my stress, my anxiety, whatever those things are, we embrace and take full ownership of those things. Or we don't all. At times, people choose to embrace and take full ownership of the most uncomfortable, worst parts of our life experience. And then when presented with the opportunity to be in joy and gratitude and to receive, we're like, no, that's okay.
Totally. That's not really for me.
Yeah, I it's all right. And one of the things that I love that you are willing to share some of your struggle, because it opens up the door for other people to do the same, including me. Part of that for me is, I am the, administrator of the estate of one of the greatest artists ever.
Yeah.
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 And along with my sister and my stepmom. And that is a very interesting journey. It's a very interesting life journey to be on,
That
and
gave
for
me
a
chills when you
while,
said that.
yeah. And
It
for
gave
a
me chills
while,
a
I
lot.
almost felt not ashamed of it, not at all, because I'm proud of my brother. I felt like, ooh, like, what are people going to think? And it took away from my ability to even more fully show up in the role,
Yeah.
And I have been working with, I'm a very humble person in a lot of ways. And I grew up with incredible like humility and, be humble. And I had always seen that as such a wonderful attribute. And it is. And what I'm learning is it's a wonderful attribute where appropriate. And being humble, it doesn't have to be humble or asshole. Right? It doesn't have to be humble or arrogant. It doesn't have to be humble or someone who's awful to other people or mean. I can be humble and proud. I can be humble and smiling and really joyful about the things that are happening in my life. I can be really joyful about the fact that I moved from being a, corporate person, miserable, 50 pounds heavier, just really unhappy, anger all the time, two emotions, angry or sad, but I didn't really know what to do with sad. So I just moved it over to anger because it was easier at the time, to move to where I am today, where I am, I've made some changes in my life. I've done some work. I've cried the tears,
I know. It's amazing.
I have the journal entries to prove it. I mean, like and I can be joyful.
You're hosting spiritual weekends. You're going to Hawaii to spiritual.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
things you're doing are amazing. It's
Thank you.
incredible. And I, when you were talking about that, you have also, you're doing now a new exhibition, right? Or has that happened? Are you creating that
No,
now?
it's happening, creating it now. Yeah. That was, I was talking to the Hera Hub Carlsbad community. We did a member event this week, and we were talking about the hobbies that we had picked up over the, during the pandemic. And my hobby was, my sister and I are like, well, you know what? We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're both super busy. Like, we never stopped working. Let's just do the exhibition. This is something that we had talked about 3 years ago, and the timing just was not right. The door wasn't open. It wasn't the right time for it. And over the summer, we're like, you know what? The world's fallen. The world is in chaos right now. There's all kinds of shit going on. Let's do this. let's do this. And that's what we've been working on.
That's a gift.
Yeah. It's happening next year in the spring of 2022 in New York.
And this is
Really
at
excited.
the New York City landmark Starrett Lehigh building in
The
Chelsea.
Starrett Lehigh, the Starrett Lehigh building in Chelsea.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And like also the time that you're choosing to create this is like what your brother's art speaks to is just it's just so powerful that you chose right now. I love that you talked about the timing because the world was falling apart, but so much was also coming out in the world that needed to. And just everything your brother did, which seemed so much like he was doing things that we need right now, even at 40 years ago, correct? 30 years ago.
33 years ago. Absolutely. I mean, he was, that's part of it, right? This was in the middle of everything that was happening during the summer of 2020, which will forever be remembered and referenced. But all of that was going on. And Jean-Michel spoke to all of it, as an artist, spoke to everything, like what he channeled and what he knew and what he saw and what he was clear enough to observe is incredible. And so this is a really great way to help New York to open up. This is a great way to celebrate and party with, in celebration of Jean-Michel and of everything that he's contributed to, to the world, and to the world's narrative. It's really exciting. And New York, it's a great way to celebrate New York because New York is, the shit. I mean, come on.
I literally was just there for a weekend. I was like, I love it here so much.
Yeah.
Best time ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is so awesome. It's interesting too. You're talking about like summer of 2020 and everything and like that it was chaos and everything fell apart. And I feel like we were talking about spiritual awakening where everything you feel like, oh my gosh, like everything is falling apart. I'm miserable, relationships, people are sick. And that led and fed your spiritual awakening. And my thought and prayer is that everything that has gone on is elevating humanity's consciousness, I'm hoping, to that other level, which will take years and decades, but at least it's almost like everything fell apart and hopefully things were revealed so that we can move up and on and elevate consciousness.
That's the opportunity, right? Because that's really what it's about. It's like we as a world globally, we're presented with several opportunities to look within, right? And to really look within. And there were some choices that could have been made, like the choice to look out and point, and they're not doing this, or he's saying that, or they're doing, whatever. Or to really look within, because ultimately everything that's happening outside of us is a reflection of what's happening inside. And the way to clean that up is not to say, Erika, you need to do this thing and that thing. And let me read you and tell you all the things you need to do. No, the opportunity is, and the gift is to say, wow, things are chaotic. Let me go inside. Where am I feeling chaos?
Yeah. Mirror, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what's so interesting that you're saying that? And you're so right, is like, so I don't do like, how like psychics do like world predictions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Brad and Angelina, terrible. They like do like these world predictions. Whatever.
Exciting.
Yes, I do not do anything like that, but I do at the end of each year do like a vibration feeling. So I'll go in with my guides and journey in with my guides and just be like, pull out any messages for the year to come, not things like breakups and stuff like that, but just about the vibration. And at the beginning of 2019 or the end of 2018 going into 2019, it was a lot about water, like waves, massive waves coming over and kind of things washing away and big, huge, like, tsunamis, just emotionally and physically, spiritually like that. And then at the end of 2019, when I went into Journey with my guides, I did not predict a pandemic or anything like that, but I went in with my guides and they showed me still water. And I was like, oh, still water. And then they told me, look in the water, and I could see my own reflection. And they said, that's 2020.
That's
Perfect.
it.
perfect vision, seeing
That's
clearly.
it.
It's all going to be about looking at ourselves.
That's
Now,
it.
individually and as a
And
collective.
collectively. Yeah. And I love that because ultimately, it is about vibration,
Yeah.
and it's about vibration both within yourself, meaning when I'm feeling chaotic, when I'm feeling frazzled and out of sorts, or when I am feeling very strong negative emotions, that's an opportunity for me to stop and check my vibration. Like, how am I vibrating? Right. And then to take it a step further, like, how does my office feel right now? Like, my office is feeling maybe, a little frazzled. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to still the energy in this room. Because when you talk about vibrational energy, it's the collective.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not like Erica or Tyler or Bob, you guys need to chill out so that I can feel better. No, it's like, chill yourself out, connect, check your own vibration, because if we all were to do that, if you were to walk into a room where each person took the time to check their own vibrational energy and then to come together and connect there, that radiates.
Totally.
And that's what we experienced last year. It wasn't bad. It was a reality check.
Look at yourself. And what are
Yeah.
you dumping onto the world when you go out into the world?
Yeah.
You're saying, what are
Yeah.
you dumping energetically out into the world? So I wanted to ask you, so are you still doing Shape Your Foundation 5-week program? Like, can people still work with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I started 2020 with this plan that I was going to take this Shape Your Foundation program on the road. And it was going to be an in-person 3-day program focusing on really building your foundation, getting back to who you are, understanding and identifying what your values are and how you're really made up and what's happening when you're interacting with other people, setting boundaries, all this really deep dive work into taking a look at the quality of the relationship that you're in with yourself and doing the work to get into better alignment internally. And then the pandemic happened. And so I was like, okay, well, this is lovely. And then last summer, we decided to take that program and bring it online so that we could meet people where they were. Because if there was ever a time, or if there is ever a time to really take a step back and focus on self and focus on how you are showing up on this planet, both to other people and to yourself, it's now, in whatever way you choose to do that. And so the Shape Your Foundation program is focused just on that. We have an online program that's 5 weeks. We meet once a week and we deep dive into those things that I just talked about, your values, setting boundaries, the relationships that you're in your life, and how to bring those relationships whole, including the relationship with yourself. And as of, I'm sorry, on August 20th,
Mhm.
I'm going to have this program in person, a 3-day weekend in Carlsbad, California.
Wow.
And we're going to actually do the work in person, which is what we intended at the beginning of 2020. And
Oh,
so
that's so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Everyone
I'm really excited about it.
sign up now.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So on August 20th, it's a 3-day weekend, the Shape Your Foundation program, just in person. Yay. And with a heck of a lot more than we're able to get into a virtual program. And then we also do continue to have the virtual programs. And I'm embarrassed to say, I don't remember the date of the next virtual. I think it's in September.
They
I
can
think it's
they
the end of, yeah. You could look it up online and you'll find it. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the program because it's a great way to carve some space out in your life for yourself and to spend time working on you, to be.
I love that you call it Shape Your Foundation. It just, what comes to mind is like, I think a lot about water imagery, and like,
Me
I
too.
think of someone like on a boat, And when you're walking on a boat and you're like, whoa, whoa, the waves are going, and you're like, whoa,
Mhm.
and you kind of can get knocked over really easily. And then if you instead stand still and kind of like bend your knees and kind of brace yourself, and the waves come, you just kind of go with them and ride them. And you feel really strong. And I feel like with even the name, Shape Your Foundation, it's like really accessing your ability to feel aligned. And so as life happens, which it always will, and that's something you
Absolutely.
confirmed earlier, sad things happen, people get sick,
Mhm.
right? But as those things come, it's like you're able to come or respond to them from an aligned state.
Absolutely. And so it's literally cleaning up your, the filters that you have, that are over your eyes as you're encountering the things that you're encountering in your life, so that you can look at them from a place of personal power, versus being a victim to the circumstances that happen to you. It's a way of getting into the driver's seat of your life. And you do that by doing the work of really cleaning up your foundation and strengthening yourself at the core of your emotional, spiritual, mental, and emotional life.
That's beautiful. I love it. I want to come.
You should
I want to
come.
come.
That'd be fun.
It's interesting. You talk about kind of um, not blaming and that whole blame game of your circumstances. And it's a lot about, also like pity parties, and sometimes I'm like deep in and I'm like pity party. I've got like the good cake. I've got like my,
Yeah.
and then I'll hear my guides, and my guides are like, this is fine for today.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like,
Exactly.
no, you need to continue to, get up and move on. And I feel like with any kind of like spiritual teaching, one of the foundations of that is like forgiveness. You forgive others, you forgive yourself, so that it's not that blame game, That's
Yeah. And
it.
imagine how, because I've been in those conversations with my girlfriends where we're like, he sucks,
Yes.
or this happened. And that's great. It's fun. You get to giggle and laugh and talk. And to be conscious about the fact that you are making a choice to do that, and then having something to do afterwards in order to move that story forward, to move that part of your story forward. If that is all you're doing every Thursday and Friday night, is just replaying and replaying the things that have happened, where you are the victim to all of these circumstances, people, roles that are happening in your life, there's nothing wrong with it. And there are other ways for you to spend your life energy. There are other things you can be doing. Do that this week. And then next week, have a conversation about what you learned about yourself through that process, so that you and your girlfriends or your boyfriends or whomever you're around, your family, can transform right along with you. Like, let's just change some of these conversations, understanding that venting is great. I mean, who doesn't love a good vent?
Yeah.
And then what?
Right. And if you hold on to those things, you're not creating any space for any newness to come in. And then you ask yourself, what do you want? And you're like, I don't know, because I'm stuck in the past.
Exactly.
So I don't know what I want because I'm so mad about the past, because I haven't done the foundational work like your course to forgive
Exactly.
that and forgive myself and possibly move on. It's interesting what you're talking about as well, because I've read for a lot of people where the reading starts out and I'm like, okay, so you just got divorced, and they're like, no. And I'm like, really? You didn't just get divorced? They're like, oh, I mean, I got divorced, 13 years ago, but no, I didn't just get divorced. And it's like, well, your energetic space
You're
is
stuck in the energy of it.
showing me that you just got divorced. And then, they're reading, the questions they want to ask in the reading is like, when will I meet someone? When will I move on? And it's like, you're still in the past, and it's not a put down or a negative. It's just a reflection. It's like, it's time to forgive and move on. And it's like
Absolutely.
a 13-year pity party. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but
You
you have
think
to
about,
be ready. No judgment. You have to be ready to move on.
absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah. And I also think that the work that you're doing is to show.
Mm.
Because sometimes that's what you need. Like, it's great to have people around you who are like, yeah, that's terrible for you, and what you serve as a person who can help them to see what's happening.
Right.
Because sometimes we don't know. We're walking around and there's like spinach in our teeth and no one's told us. And so it's kind of gross, but it's like, the person who can tell you there's spinach in your teeth and it's like 14-year-old spinach.
And it's time you're ready.
Brush your teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Teeth. And
Brush
a lot
your
of
teeth.
people are so ready. They don't even realize it. They just need that.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that as well, because sometimes we do need friends or family to almost honor our trauma or our pain instead of just say like, oh, let it go. And we're like, oh, thanks. I never thought of that. Oh, good thing you told me to let it go. Or else I
didn't know that's what I wanted. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it is that those dear friends that can hold space or honor your trauma or pain. And then you go to your course or you get a reading and you hear someone like, okay, time to move on.
That's great. Let's exactly, because venting is a release, right? Venting is what you do to release something. And after a while, if you keep trying to release the same thing, nothing is happening. You can spend 3 hours having the conversation over the wine, the tea, the coffee, the water. Nothing has happened, but if you release and then fill yourself up with something else, or allow space to happen so that you can move into a situation that is better aligned with what you want. It's like what we were talking about before, like embracing this terrible thing that happened and calling it venting. Let it go. Open your heart, allow something new, ask for something new. Sometimes that's a simple thing. It's like, what do you want? And surrender. Yeah. Right.
Let go and let God, not to sound too.
I mean, but it's true.
It's a cliche for a reason. Let go and let God. Attitude of gratitude. All the things that we've talked about, I feel like, are those like sayings, but there's so much power and truth behind a lot of them.
They're real. Yeah. They're real.
Can we talk really quick about Hawaii? Because
Let's do it.
A funny story. So for the past 2 years, I'm like, I've been telling my husband, I'm like, I really want to move to Hawaii. And my husband, he's awesome. And he'll do anything. Like he's with me, but he's also like, you've never even been there. It's like,
okay.
You've never even been there. Look, what, and I'm like, I feel like there is something is calling me there. And that happened a few years ago that I started feeling that way. And since then, all of these very powerful spiritual people that either I know or I follow on Instagram, just all around, it's like, guess what? Moving to Hawaii. Guess what? Moving to Hawaii. Like there's this kind of call to Hawaii, and I've never even been there. And I was, learning about you and listening to you and reading about you and listening to your podcast. And you were like, yeah, the work I'm doing in Hawaii. I'm like, oh, okay. Yep. Of course. Okay.
Being told something, Erika.
Yeah. So I was wondering when you started going there and what type of work you're doing there, because I know you're doing a lot of spiritual work there. Is that right?
Yeah, you are. So not only are you right, but I started wanting to go to Hawaii as a little girl, and I did not know why. I just felt, here I was in Brooklyn, and it was like Hawaii, like I gotta get there. And it was something that I felt calling me. And then I had like a million reasons why I couldn't, from New York. I'm like a 12-hour flight. What am I going to, whatever. And then a few years ago, that door opened up. And so I study Huna, which is actually, no, I'm sorry. I went to Hawaii for the first time, maybe 8 years ago. I went to Oahu and walked around Honolulu, and I loved it. And I was so surprised that it was actually a city.
Right.
I expected this big tropical, and there are parts of the island that are absolutely, but it was very kind of cosmopolitan. And then several years later, so I'm a master practitioner of NLP, and I'm a teacher of NLP. And through neurolinguistic programming.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's how language is used to how we are programmed through language, and how we program our life experiences and the relationships that we have with other people through the use of language.
Wow.
Neurolinguistic
I need to
programming.
know that.
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
clue. We need like 3 more podcasts.
I know, for real. I know.
I'm sorry. What is NLP and why don't I know anything about this? And
Oh, I can give you all the information about it. So I've been a coach, a certified coach for well over 20 years.
wow.
And I fell into NLP. It fell in, you're kind of walking around and it's like, hey, Lisane, go over there. And I'm like, okay. So I went over there to NLP, which I love. And I walked in to this first weekend program, and there was a banner, and it said Huna. And I did this through the Empowerment Partnership, is where I study NLP. And it's the same company that also does Huna. And so I saw the words Huna, spiritual and energetic practice out of Hawaii, or the ancient spiritual and energetic practice out of Hawaii. And I looked at it and I was like, okay. Like I just felt like this energy over me, like, there's the door, go there.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I study theta. I have been a Reiki, I was Reiki many, many years. I don't really practice it very much. Really deep into God, the whole God thing, man.
You're like
And
me.
I saw me and God, and sometimes I move away, and then I'm like, it's not so good without you. Let me get my ass back over there. And so I saw these, and it was just like Lisane. And so I did not know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it, but it was like Hawaii, spirituality, energy, do it. So I signed up for it, not knowing anything about it. And so I go to the Big Island um, twice a year for 3 weeks at a time, 2.5 weeks at a time. And I study Huna. And what I love about Huna, as a complement to all my other spiritual work, is the focus on personal empowerment and connection to personal empowerment, A, and B, the connection to everything that's around us, the connection to the elements, and really diving deep into the culture of Hawaii, which is an incredibly powerful culture. And what a gift to the rest of this country that we live in. And I go there, and it is that place where I walk around. I don't comb my hair. I don't wear shoes. And I just patter about for a couple of weeks in meditation, learning, connecting. There's an incredible community that is on that same journey. I belong to the halau, which is the Hawaiian word for school. There, and it's just an incredible experience, and it's one of those things that I need in my life. I really enjoy. Let me change the words. I really enjoy that aspect of my life, because it's a place I go where I can just let it all go, fill myself up. And it's this little corner of the world that is just incredibly powerful.
That's not just hearing you talk about it. I feel more like relaxed and centered. Just hearing you talk
I'm
about it.
telling you, and there's nothing like a sunset, watching the sunset in Hawaii. It is amazing. Amazing.
I wanted, I've
You
been,
should do it. I'll give you the information offline. You should definitely do it.
I really want.
Huna.com, actually. Yeah. I think it's Huna.com.
Right now, I haven't manifested Huna, but I'm working on manifesting like some lovely hotel or resort that wants a medium to come and work with their people, or some special event or something, and they'll pay for me and my family to come down, and I can go do work down there.
Well, there you go. You just put it out there.
Yeah, totally. I am. I'm like, I want to go to Hawaii and do readings,
Do
but
it.
I'm supposed to go to Hawaii and do Huna instead.
Or maybe you're supposed to go to Hawaii and do readings and stay at a beautiful place and stick your toe into the Pacific Ocean and the way it feels right there on that body of land.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're supposed to do.
I'm drawn to
Hawaii
that.
is the only place in the world that I've ever gotten into the ocean at in the middle of the night and hung in the ocean in the middle of the night.
Wow.
With just knowing that I was being held.
That's so beautiful.
You know? Yeah.
I've done that once in my life, but I think I was like 14. I could never imagine doing that now because my chicken level has just risen as I've gotten older. I've only done that once in my life.
No, it was
I loved it.
Incredible. And I was, incredible, just an incredible experience.
I'm going.
Do
if
it.
you're listening to this and you're in Hawaii, go to your local resort and ask them to invite.
Absolutely. To manifest that right here.
I feel like we have 5 more podcasts in us. Everyone should definitely listen to your podcast, Shaping Freedom,
Thank you.
Is also with Straw Hut Media. So we share our producers, which is really, really special. I'm so honored, to be to have that same.
Absolutely.
It's so cool. Shaping Freedom and Hera Hub in Carlsbad. How do they find that if they're in that area? How do they connect with your Hera Hub in Carlsbad?
Oh, just go to herahub.com. There are locations, several locations across the country. My big plug for my good friend, Felina Hansen. She is doing everything that she can. I have never met a person more committed to success for entrepreneurs, in particular female entrepreneurs. And so she is doing everything that she can to spread that support and community. And I own Hera Hub Carlsbad. And so if you're in San Diego, California, and you are in the Carlsbad area, just herahub.com/Carlsbad will give you information about that location and what you can do to join. It's a member community and the incredible community. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're interested in the Shape Your Foundation program, go to shapingfreedom.com and you'll find information about the next in-person one, which is August 20th, and the online one. Sorry, I don't remember right now, but if you go, you'll see the dates. They're up there. Or join the Shaping Freedom with Lisane Basquiat Facebook group. I'm on all the social media stuff.
That's what I'm looking at. You're at Lisane Basquiat. That's your handle.
Yeah. And at Shaping Freedom.
At Shaping Freedom as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Please, click follow so you can follow everything she's doing. And
thank you.
We have the podcast, your program. You're presenting an incredible new exhibit in New York City in 2022. So you'll put that up somewhere so people know.
It's there, kingpleasure.basquiat.com. It is the opportunity this is a gift to the world from our family. And really, really excited about that. And if you want to be on that mailing list and hear more about that and be notified about, when tickets actually go on sale, kingpleasure.basquiat.com.
Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Erika, this has been an amazing conversation. You see what I mean? I loved the conversation that Erika and I just had, and she's absolutely right. We have to find some time to continue our conversation because there's so much more for us to talk about. What I got out of this conversation with Erika was so many thoughts about how incredible a journey life can be when we are open to understanding the truth that we really are here in community and in collaboration with other people. We really are here doing our own work with the opportunity to do our work on and with ourselves so that we can be in the healthiest, most productive, and most progressive collaboration with other people, with our families, with our relationships, our communities, with the people that we work with the people that we choose to practice spiritually with. We really are here to be with other people. And so I think that is probably the biggest thing that I walked away from my conversation with Erika thinking about, is how wonderful it is to recognize that opportunity. I really am grateful for those of you who continue to listen to the Shaping Freedom podcast. I am learning. I'm learning how to improve at this. I'm learning how to be consistent with it. And I'm learning how to really dig deep and work through some of the fear that comes up sometimes about actually putting my voice out there. And I'm grateful to myself that I do continue to do that. And I hope the same for you. Do something this week that you are feeling a little shy about. Just get out there and do it so that we're all doing it together. The Shape Your Foundation program actually will be in person on August 27th. We changed the date since that interview. So if you want more information about that program, I encourage you to go to shapingfreedom.com and you'll get some information there. You'll also have the opportunity to have a conversation with someone if you would like more information about it or want to talk about your circumstances. I am so appreciative that you listen. And again, please rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. And again, be well. Have a fantastic week. I look forward to next time